Thank you so much, Swamy, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for the audience who are with me to have an idea or an overview on this particular topic called graduate attributes. Yeah, I welcome you all to this session on graduate attributes. Graduate attributes are at the core of learning design. They address the long-term enduring aims of our educational activity. They involve thinking about the type of people that emerge from our educational programs, their ethics, their responsibility, and their citizenship, and from there, the employability in our current and future society. This is where I would like to focus because of the recent pandemic, which you find. Uh, this is not, next is, it's not moving. Next. Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah, the outline of the topic is the things which I'm going to explain in a nutshell are graduate attributes. Attributes, the etymology says, attributes are those which include in the graduate program, which through the course, they embed skills, they assign, they entrust skills as they complete throughout the course, and at the end of the course, these attributes are with the students or the graduates who take up the course. Now, how are they assessed? They are assessed through Bloom's taxonomy, a scientific method that is involved. And how does a graduate transforms himself into an employee or a responsible citizen? This is as per the scientific method that is involved. Now, coming to the recent pandemic, in a situation like COVID-19, what would be the graduate attribute and how would they be assessed? And what is the method of learning? And recent technology or the development of technology has made us very, very familiar with this new way of learning, which is through technology, which is blended learning. I would like to focus on this blended learning and flipped classroom. Then a model that is used by or that is devised by Ruben Potendadaro, the Pedagogy Wheel 4.0 and its series, and the apps that are associated with this, and an example of using summer model and the gist of it. These are the things which I would like to highlight through this session. As you all are aware, education is the most powerful weapon which we all can use or which one can use to change the world. The best example I can say is the recent inclusion of the Forbes magazine, in which our own Telugu from Telangana, K. Sandeep, who got into the news under 30. And the history says, or the background of the work that was done by this boy is the basic example for education as the most powerful weapon. This boy saw his grandmother suffering from cancer 10, 15 years back, and he had no idea about how exactly could she be given medication, the sources of it, the medication of it, and the all things that are involved in giving a normal medication or a medication that would enhance her lifespan. And she suffered a lot and she had her last breath. This was in his mind. And after he completed his education, that is engineering, from Nalgonda Rajiv Gandhi Institution, and he moved to US for MS, and there he had looked into, rather done a lot of research of finding out what exactly are the sources for cancer and related or associated diseases that would give an impetus or that would give an idea how to cure this disease. And with this study, he came out with an app, and that app now gives a complete picture of the medication and enhancement of lifespan for those who are affected or those who are suffering from cancer. And this made Forbes identify the boy, and now he is under 30 Forbes inclusion, And that is the greatest achievement. And I say education is the most powerful weapon which one can change the world. And now the world of the cancer patients now has got clarity that they can survive. The next thing is keeping the pandemic in view. Future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Yes, today, if we do not adopt the technology, future may not be with us. This is the message I would like to give. Yes. As every one of us know that India has, my focus is on engineering education or engineering graduates. Then India has a total of 6,214 engineering and technological institutions, in which around 2.9 million students are enrolled. Every year, on an average, 1.5 million students get their degree in engineering. But due to lack of skill required to perform technical jobs, less than 20% get employment in their core domain. What could be the reason behind it? Are universities not able to assess, or the engineering students who wish to graduate unable to assess themselves? How to assess these qualities to upskill the graduates? Understanding and realizing graduate attributes fulfills this gap and transforms the aspirant to a self-made skilled engineering graduate in the new normal, which is going to be the next normal. My analysis in the presentation reflects on these qualities. Yes. Now, the graduate attributes, the attributes that are embedded within the course or the education program are knowledge and expertise of the discipline, communication, information and digital literacy, research inquiry, global citizenship, to highlight a few. Knowledge, discipline-specific knowledge is important. You find these engineering graduates, when they cannot stand in the competition, they land up as lab in charges or they land up as lab faculty. And when, if ever any assistance need to be required from these, especially in the discipline, in, say, for example, take CSC, Computer Science of Engineering graduates, when they are asked to help either in using Excel sheet, either in using the other devices, they have a big nil face. And this makes them that they do not have the idea of the knowledge and expertise, that is discipline specific knowledge, which is nil in most of them. This is because most of the engineering students are under conformity, and they do come because scholarship and free education, these two makes uninterested students involved into engineering education. But how to make them involved? How to make them skilled? Because the next program says, or the NEP says, skill is important, not the degree. So how to make them skilled? This is where the teacher and the student need to know about. So the discipline-specific knowledge can be defined as a set of understandings that is more than broad knowledge of a field. Knowledge that is specific to the discipline or profession, and it defines the specialist in this area. How many of them do probe into their discipline specific and make themselves expertise in their fields or in their disciplines? Next comes information and digital literacy. The American Library Association defines digital literacy as the ability to use information and communication technologies to find, to evaluate, to create, and communicate information requiring both cognitive and technical skills. So digital literacy in education encompasses so much more. This has to be identified by both the teacher and the taught, because the teacher has to motivate the student towards upgrading these skills. Coming to problem solving, which is an important skill which has to be learned throughout, or which has to be experienced throughout. Problem solving helps the student to determine why an issue is happening and how to resolve that issue. It's one of the key skills that employers seek in job applications. Problem solving starts with identifying the issue, coming up with solutions, implementing those solutions. This also includes so many other skills. Problem solving doesn't mean just identifying the solution. Problem solving includes active listening. You have to listen to the tone of that particular problem. If you read a particular problem, tone of the problem, active listening need to be there, analysis of that particular problem, do some research, then create your own ideas in solving the problem, communicate with the relevant resources, and then dependability, and finally decision making. These are the skills embedded in problem solving, and that's how problem solving skill becomes complete. Now, the skills that are very important for the coming NEP are the global citizenship. How can a student identify himself as a global citizenship or global citizen? It is someone who is aware of and who understands the wider world and what place he has in it. They take an active role in their community and work with others to make our planet more and more peaceful, sustainable, and fair. Global citizenship helps young people to build their own understanding of the world events. How many of the students who are doing the program have an idea about this global citizenship? And if they are not, the teachers need to give them this impetus. Ethical and social and professional understanding. This involves students building in a strong personal and socially oriented ethical outlook that helps them to manage context, conflict, and uncertainty, and to develop an awareness of the influence that their values and behavior have on others. If the student understands that these are the attributes in his program, in his graduation course, then he should work accordingly, and that would make him come out with the skills that are required. Now, what does the NEP say? The NEP says, apart from the skills that are mentioned or the attributes that are given in the graduate course, the new National Education Policy 2020 says that liberty, responsibility, pluralism, equality, justice to the above. Apart from that, it says life skills such as communication, cooperation, teamwork, resilience. Resilience plays a very, very important role. Resilience, especially a situation like pandemic. How would a student understand how to have that listening to the tone of the situation and then come out with his patient outlook in order to solve the problem and come out with the problem? These NEP policies are built on foundational pillars of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. And this policy is assigned to 2030 agenda of sustainable development and aims to transform India into a vibrant knowledge society, a global knowledge superpower by making both school and college education more and more holistic. So the student need to understand, need to be aware of himself that he should go for the skills that are required in order to make himself equip, in order to equip himself for the coming days. Then what are the key skills that is expected from an engineering student? As we discuss effective technical skills, of course, digital literacy, where he should understand what are the important digital tools that he need to go with. Then the ability to work under pressure. Problem solving skills, as I told you, the skills that are embedded in it. Verbal and written communication skills, which are a must for any engineering graduate. Commercial awareness. This plays a very, very important role where there's a lot of exposure these days for the students through technology, and if they adopt the technical or technological equipments or tools, and that makes them go with commercial awareness. Then team working skills, and this also plays because everywhere you find team building skills, and without teams then there is no good outcome that comes with the usage of the tools. Then how do graduates achieve this? Does the university or student and industry see the same picture with regard to graduate attribute issues? What and how should students learn to achieve this? Do they have an awareness of it? Do they have an exposure of it? Is anybody giving them a motivation towards it? How can we assure that our students have achieved the needed graduate attributes during their study? Or how students develop these soft skills during their studies at the university? They should know what exactly are the definition or the skills embedded under soft skills. Soft skills are not those skills which are away from hard skills. Soft skills are the way we dress and the way we undress or address, the way we dress and the way we address, sorry. And this is how the communication plays a vital role. How should students develop strategies that could assist them in attaining such qualities and skills during their study at universities in their future professional careers? How could they develop when there is no exposure, when the teacher is not also aware of all this? Then how should they be knowing about it? Those students who are self-motivated, of course, they definitely. But the maximum strength of the class, say out of 60, out of 48, then 10 or 15 students definitely will be self-motivated. But the remaining, and this remaining percentage itself says that there is no employment and the engineering batch has no skills. So to wipe out this, if the student is made to aware of all these skills and that he should be with, and definitely this improves the skill percentage. The industry expects something beyond these skills which are not taught in the university. Then how would the student equip himself? When it is not taught in the college or in the university, when he himself doesn't learn, but the industry expects a lot from him, then how should this problem be solved? And so only is lifelong learning skill is important for this to answer. Now, then how should he learn? How should he improve himself? He needs to be proactive. These are the skills which are required for scholarly inquiry. He should have an in-depth engagement with the relevant disciplinary knowledge, and he should also have a relevance of interdisciplinary context. Say a student of CSC, we should also think about the another branch of engineering, how he would use the electrical branch of engineering tools. Then if this interdisciplinary idea or interdisciplinary knowledge exists, then the outcomes would be very, very excellent. And in the present days, reflective learning plays a very, very important role. The ability to engage in independent and reflective learning. When can a student adopt reflective learning? First thing, when he has confidence on himself. Second thing, when he observes nature, when he observes things that are happening in and around him. Then the reflection is all his based on his experiences. If ever he had to solve a problem, then he should reflect on his previous experiences, or he should at least read those stories of failures where they have come out with success, and those reflections will help him in coming out with reflective learning. And this reflective learning plays a very, very important role in building the base of the skill. Information literacy. This is very important because without collection of information, a skill cannot be developed. So the skills to locate, where should the skill be used, then how to evaluate the skill that is used, and use of relevant information. Use of relevant information at appropriate time. That helps him know how to make himself skilled. And the capacity to enterprise, initiative, and creativity. These play a very, very important role in scholarly inquiry, which he should understand, which he should be exposed of within his 4-year or within the semesters of his university, so that he would reach to the expectations of the employers. Then what is the expectation of the industry if this is the case? Then student qualities and skills are already there, the scholarly inquiry or in-depth engagement with relevant disciplinary knowledge in its interdisciplinary context. The student qualities and skills need to be critical thinking, analytical thinking, and creative problem solving. Now, this critical thinking and analytical thinking, using of logic and applying that logical thinking, reasoning thinking together and come out with a solution. Now, this much of time a student or an engineering graduate has to apply in order to come out with this skill. Then the student perspective is he thinks that if he develops research skills, knowing about something, or in-depth knowledge about local industry and awareness in that field, that would give him enough. But the ability to understand the big picture is very, very important. From student perspective, he should understand about the big picture. He should also be able to finance a project. If he finances a project, he would get to know about the ins and outs of a project. He will have his own reflective experience later. Then he should develop professional skills. He should develop management skills, and he should have good decision making skills. Then he should have ability to handle contingency and problem solving skills. And all these he will not be experiencing within those 4 years of his engineering course, but the industry expects all this. And the industry asks for professional and performance skills. And all employers, they note that nothing is taught through university, but the workplace, it is not sufficient for the workplace. Hence, the student need to be aware of all these skills, and these skills he can only through self-learning. Analytical skills, problem solving skills, problem avoidance and solving, all these skills he can improve only when he squeezes time uh, in order to probe into the discipline specific skills and make himself an expert. Now, how are these skills measured? Fine, a student attains certain skills, and he will understand how to make himself an expert. But then they should be measured, they should be assessed. Then how are they assessed? Is there any scientific method to assess these skills? Yes, there is a method, and that method is Bloom's taxonomy. And this was developed to provide a common language for teachers to discuss and exchange learning and assessment methods. This is a method where the universities, the colleges across, engineering colleges across use in order to assess a scientific method to assess the levels of understanding of the students. And this will measure from the low level of understanding to the high grade of understanding, higher order thinking. Specific learning outcomes can be derived from this taxonomy, which is developed by Dr. Benjamin Bloom. And it is most commonly used to assess learning at a variety of cognitive levels. We see under the cognitive levels like thinking, learning, and understanding. Specific learning outcomes can also be derived from this, and it is most commonly through cognitive levels. Then, it is in order to promote higher forms of thinking in education, such as analyzing, evaluating concepts, processes, procedures, and principles, rather than just remembering or rote learning. That is why this scientific method of application is used. Then, how are they assessed? How are they measured? Then, what is the purpose and what are the domains? Now, the purpose is in order to make the student encourage, or rather encourage higher order thought in the students and build up from lower level cognitive skills to higher level cognitive skills. Because when we compare an engineering student with that a normal or ordinary graduate, an ordinary graduate can rote learn, can look into the notes, prepare himself for the exam, and he can answer. But an engineering student cannot do this. He is in a professional course. The course, the program itself has its levels of understanding. The if he measures or if he falls into the lower order thinking skills, then it is the duty of the teacher to pull him up from the lower order to that of the higher order thinking. Then what are these lower order thinking and higher order thinking? The Bloom's taxonomy gives us the orders, like the three domains of learning. First, the cognitive, the mental skills. Second, the affective, the growth in feelings and emotional attitude and self. Then the psychomotor. And they are measured in these three different levels. The first one is remembering and understanding. Remembering comes under rote learning. Then how much does the student understand whatever is explained to him? And then how does he apply after understanding a particular thought or a subject? Then whether he analyzes it, whether he splits it and then adds it, or whether he does such distinction between different parts of what he has studied. Then can the student justify a stand or a decision? That is evaluated, and this is done in the higher order thinking level. And can students create something, a new product? So the top two level, evaluating and creating, comes under higher order thinking. Analyzing, And applying comes under intermediate order of thinking. Understanding and remembering comes under low level of or lower level of understanding. Now, the objectives of this is that will include, as I said, the four distinct components: audience, behavior, condition, and degree. These objectives must be both observable and measurable to be effective. And so the words that we understand and learn in writing objectives are generally not acceptable because they're very difficult to measure. That is why we use only those levels of it as understand, remember, that is knowledge, and then application, analysis, and then create and evaluate. These are how the knowledge or the skills or the assessment of the skills of the graduate are measured through Bloom's taxonomy. The assessing of knowledge is through this taxonomy, and this has been applicable for generations for K-12 teachers and college instructions for their teaching. Now, K-12 teachers are those who have a thorough practice and thorough knowledge about the applications of technology in their classroom, and they bring out with an excellent skill set from the students. And they are trained in online instruction methods, and they share a passion for making a difference. And they help students learn in the ways they work for the best. Those are K-12 teachers here in this particular slide where I have mentioned. This is how the knowledge is assessed. Then, how is this assessed in the form of the action, that is action verbs? As you all understand that whenever we create a question paper or draft a question paper for the student to answer, as our assessment is through written examination or through oral examination at times in the lab, and when the examination is conducted, then you find the framing of the question paper. Then you find questions which are under, when you look into this, yeah, the other slide, look at this first level. If a student answers a question which begins with define a particular theory, define a plus b is equal to so and so, or define or find out or how, list out, match. If these questions are answered by the student, then his level of understanding is only whatever he has learned previously, the material, and he will recall the facts, terms, and he will answer. This is called the low level, level 1 of remembering. If a student answers questions which are under this category, that is classify, compare, contrast, demonstrate, or explain the experiment that you have done or practically you completed in the lab, something like that, then it is understood that he can demonstrate the understanding of the facts and ideas by organizing, comparing, or by comparing or interpreting, giving descriptions, and stating main ideas. That is, he is under level 1. The first level 1 and 2 are under the lower order of thinking. The student still requires to improve his, and this is how they are assessed. If the student in the question paper, out of, say, for example, out of 8 questions given, if he is asked to answer 5 questions, out of the 5 questions, if he selects questions which belong to level 3, where he applies whatever he had learned, he will solve the problems to new situations by applying the acquired knowledge or the facts or the techniques and rules in a different way. Then the level of student here is considered to be the intermediate order of thinking. Then if he analyzes, you see that he examines and then he breaks the information into parts by interfering with the motives of causes, then his level of understanding is intermediate. And coming to evaluation and creation, then if he answers questions which are with assess, criteria, criticize, decide, detect, determine, if these happen to be the questions in his question paper or end examination or mid examination, if more number of such questions are answered, then his order of thinking is said to be higher order. Then how to pull the students from the lower level of order to the higher level? When an analysis is made, and through analysis, students are encouraged in order to move from lower level of understanding to higher level where this assessment is of great use. That is why Bloom's taxonomy is a scientific method, well approved method that makes an assessment right. Then when so much of scientific method and assessment is already there, then why the new NEP, that is the National Educational Policy. The National Education Policy doesn't give much importance for the degrees, as you know, that in HEIs, it has got at every level a diploma, a certificate, and then a credit bank. And then anytime the student has got the facility the student has got the facility to come and complete his graduation. So it emphasizes on skills. The new education policy emphasizes on skills. That is why the student need to be aware of upgrading his skills in order to meet the future. Then, why? Why should he be so serious about upgrading his skills? Because India will be the youngest country in the world by 2035. Many things point to the need for meaningful change in education. Change around the world is driven by exciting new research on how the brain works and how people learn. So learners must not only develop what they know, but also skills, attitudes, values that will help them capable people. That is the reason why the new NEP and the skill set required. So what is that method that should be adopted in order to make the students improve their skills? The best method now with the new normal, which is called the next normal, because you find now colleges just started their first year of engineering and most of them have adopted blended learning. What is blended learning? What exactly are the models of blended learning? How would they help in order to improve their skill set? How should the student be well equipped with these technological tools so that the student will be capable enough to meet the challenges of the new NEP or the skills of the future? Blended learning, it's an approach to education that combines all online educational materials and opportunities for interaction online with traditional place-based classroom methods. It blends, right? It gets together two things. That is the face-to-face and also with the online. Then there are around 6 models which we see in this blended learning. Every model has got its own advantage. Any model can be made use of, and these models will fetch excellent results because the student here is not a passive learner, he is an active learner. All these programs are student centered programs. The first model is face to face driver model. Here it is used for diverse classrooms. Say, for example, in a heterogeneous classroom, there are 10% of students who are excellent. For such students, the teacher can go for this blended learning wherein where the inputs are given of much higher level, where they can understand. And if there are even slow learners in that heterogeneous classroom, the teacher can sit with the slow learners. So this works out. This face-to-face driver model of blended learning works out with this diverse classrooms. The second model of blended learning is face-to-face and then move on online. That is called the rotation model. And it has improved 80% of its result, and most of the educational institutions have adopted this. Then the third model is a flex model where you find the a complete online teacher only will be a facilitator. The flex model is teacher will be a facilitator, teacher will help wherever they require, and teacher will give them links, teacher will give them the teacher will give them the sources, and the student will go online, and they have their flexibility because anytime, anywhere, even if they're traveling, they can complete their work. And so this has got plus 300% results. Then you have another model called online lab school model. And here, students, those who would like to go for extra knowledge, for example, whatever the as per the syllabus or the assigned work, if the student has completed, but other than that he wants to probe into that particular subject, then he would go for this particular blended learning called online lab school model. Then you have a self blend model, And this self-blend model is a fifth model, and this is beyond that offered in the course. Whatever is offered beyond that, and that whatever extra information that has to be, and that would go with this. And the last model is the online driver model, and this is quite opposite to that face-to-face or the traditional model where students work from remote locations and instructions via online. Everything is through online. These are the six models of blended learning. They will, once they are understood and they are adopted, they would give excellent results and create a pathway for skill up or upgrading skills. Then the flipped classroom. How do we understand the flipped classroom? See this diagram, you find students practice applying the key concepts with feedback. Now, in a flipped classroom, students are given work. Teacher, as a facilitator, will give them assigned work, and students will learn content at home. And they come back to classroom after they do their research through online. That means it is again the student-centered classroom, and they come to class to apply whatever they have learned at home. So in front of the teacher, and teacher being a facilitator, teacher helps, and there is an assurance for the students that teacher, under the guidance of the teacher, they learn. So these two methods are very, very useful, and they are in practice by most of the universities. And the current pandemic situation has made universities to accept these two, and the teachers and students, if they are aware of this, and that would definitely make their lives colorful because it involves even self-learning. Then what are the activities? Then how do we again assess through this program? Then the activities that are created through Bloom's digital taxonomy, again we map with these analysis or the low level and high level thinking. Then it depends on how, if the student is just copying, and that means he is of the lower order thinking skill. If the student is able to mind map, if the student is able to survey, if the student is able to locate links and then come out with his own ideas, then his order of thinking is high. And this is how Bloom's digital taxonomy also assesses the idea of upskilling the student. Then, now in order to do all this, the student is required with certain tools, and these are information and communication tools, or digital technology and communication tools, and tools such as computer, how to make use of 100% best use of using a laptop, computer, or Microsoft Word, or Word 10, 13, whichever the application. Then LCD, digital photocopy, machine, digital camera, scanner, audio video devices. All these are the tools that helps the student to apply his skill and knowledge, communicate with others, to participate very effectively in the society. I would like to introduce one special model, and this model has come out with beautiful results. Excuse me. And this model is called SAMR model. And this model has proven results throughout the K-12 education, and it is proving high. And this model is a student-centered model, and this model helps the students, also the teachers, in order to map themselves with the apps, that is with technology, and with Bloom's taxonomy, and with the skills that are involved in all this, and make a self-learning a great achievement. Because self-learning or lifelong learning is a curiosity, of course. Then, what exactly is this model? This model is called SAMR model. S stands for substitution, A for augmentation, M for modification, R for redefinition. Now, how, say, for example, under substitution, we give a particular task to the student, and wherein he will not use any technology. If he is given a white paper, he is asked to draw a draft letter. I'll show you in the example. Then he will take a pen and a scale, and then he will draw lines, borders, or margins, and then he will start writing the letter. Instead, if he is given a tool, and then how would he saves time, and he would come out with different templates. So here Technology acts as a direct substitute with functional improvement. That is in the second augmentation. In the third case, the same letter, he will look into different models and templates, letters of variety, letters of the word, letters of different aspects. And when he will have an exposure while learning into, while surveying into different links of technology, sources of technology, then he will have a wider exposure. For example, yesterday in one of our WhatsApp messages, there was one doubt which somebody expressed, that is there a letter called letter of immersion? And there was a doubt, there was a big doubt. Then there have to be examples shown in order that such letters also exist. Because when there is no exposure, then we will not have any idea when we have to draft, when we are in office all of a sudden. So this exposure, this student-centered learning helps in modification of that particular letter and redefinition. And when it comes out, it comes out into a beautiful piece, something which we don't expect. And that would be a new creation that would be done by the student by using technology. So this is a beautiful model, SMR model. Let me show you at length. You find here, we need the zoom we find here the pedagogy wheel. I would like to introduce you to this pedagogy wheel. This pedagogy wheel, I got it. This pedagogy wheel has got, yeah, the pedagogy wheel. Okay, the pedagogy wheel, the grid I want to see. The pedagogy wheel, right. The pedagogy wheel has got number of grids. You see the inner circle? The inner circle is mapped with the levels of order of thinking. The first one is create, second is remember, third, remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. The first two are the lower order of thinking. The next two are apply, analyze is the intermediate order of thinking. Evaluate, create are the higher order of thinking. This grid is mapped with action verbs. If the student does or listen, list, match, there are certain words embedded in the first circle. Let us see, remember. Now here, these are the action verbs that are used for the lower order of thinking. Then, what are the activities that are suggested for this level of thinking? The activities like flashcards, like mind maps, like drill and practice, like facts, illustrate words or concepts. These are the activities. If the student does these activities, then it is of the lower order of thinking. Then the apps that are matched with this activities or with these activities are, say, around 34 apps are introduced. The man Robin Potendadaro has devised this pedagogy wheel, and it has proven excellent results. And it has millions and millions of views, and students and teachers are using this. And because the maps that match the assessment is also directly given, it is mapped with Bloom's taxonomy. So there is no question of going away from the assessment, and it is intact with that of scientific method, and this can be made use of it. So we have for remember, understand, number of apps. For understand, you see 32 apps that can be taken. Then for apply, for intermediate order of thinking, 32 apps. For analyze, 29 apps. And for evaluate, 30 apps. For create, 31 apps. So 188 suggested educational apps available in order to upgrade the skills of the student using technology. And the pedagogy wheel helps a lot. And if students and teachers make use of it, make a thorough study of the wheel, and that would be wonderful to meet the requirements of the new normal, which is going to be the next normal. Then, examples of understanding. As I told you, substitution is if a letter is asked to write or read, then the student is made to write. Let me show the letter, and these are the apps that are used as I showed you in the model. So the best uses of innovative teaching of summer model is think about how you use technology in the classroom. Give a trial with SAMR model and you get results inconceivable in this century. That's how beautifully you can assess. Now, this is the experiment which I did in my class. Then I gave the students of engineering letter writing as one of the writing skills tasks. Then these are the errors that they have projected. Then I introduced them to those links. And in the second stage, I made them to use the functional stage, which is the augmentation. Check this letter. The letter has no heading. The letter only has date. To whom is this addressed also is missing. And the letter is not with a complete format. So I made the students with the links and they refer to this. I have experimented with the substitution, the augmentation, right? Then the method, the modification, and they came out with wonderful letter writing. It is not that letter writing alone that they looked into. They looked into resume writing. They looked into notes or the note making, note writing, and they also looked into drafts, affidavits, and they also learned how to write letters through email. So that self-study made them improve, and it came out with inconceivable results. And this is how SAMR model works. Then what are the apps that are suggested for all this? For substitution, Google and Word. Then for augmentation, these are the apps that are suggested. Then for modification, these are the apps that are suggested. For redefining, these are the apps that are suggested. And these apps will help the student as well as the teacher to probe into discipline specific knowledge, research oriented knowledge that builds up a particular candidate or student or a graduate as an expertise in his own field of engineering. Now, I would like to suggest here one particular app which I used in my classroom. That is Edmodo. Edmodo is a learning management system. This is one free educational app. It is an educational website. This takes the ideas of a social network, it refines them, and it makes it appropriate for the classroom. Even if you find that you have missed something out of it, and this app will give you the complete picture of that particular idea which you are referring to. So using Edmodo in the classroom, I experimented with my students using Edmodo in classroom. That gives a lot of benefit and exposure to the students, to the world, especially to the K2 students. Then it has an advantage that a parent can also be an account holder. Parent can also view into what the student is doing, especially in school education. This helps a lot where the parent will monitor the homework that is given by the teacher so that the student is not away from the track. It connects home and school connections, then resources that can be shared, then there's a lot of feedback, then you have an exposure with the world community, millions of students and teachers with their own innovative ideas. They use or they give feedback or they help you whenever you have a crisis with your subject. Then it is within the closed network. It has no diversions, especially for the school students. Then it is a virtual base camp for classroom education. Then it has a lot of positive enforcement and student independence is found through this particular Edmodo, which I experimented and I found it very, very beneficial. So I feel that every beginner possesses a great potential to be an expert in his or chosen field. So it is only the beginning, but then he should understand that he has a lot of potential to make himself an expert at the end of the day. And I feel self-education is a lifelong curiosity. And if students, along with their teachers, will agree with me with the self-education is lifelong curiosity, and with the new normal, which is going to be the next normal, if these techniques and tools are adopted along with an assessment, then definitely we can meet or we can say that our students are have adopted resilience and they will fit into the new normal. Thank you very much.